and listen closely. Everything is curable. We're in a new era, remembering what the earth has been whispering, shifting from conventional medicine's quick fixes beyond prescriptions. This is our journey back to the intelligence of the body. Welcome to Beyond the White. Hello, I'm Gaya Stepanian, your host, and you are watching Beyond the White Coat, where we return to the earth's natural medicines, where we restore health through nature's original blueprint. Beyond the White Coat is for truth seekers, for those who seek to understand the human body beyond what we've been told through conventional medicine, and understand the body's incredible ability to heal. Today at Beyond the White Coat, we're going to be talking about access consciousness, access bars, a specific type of technique for healing that helps reset the nervous system and helps to go deleting our emotional attachment to certain experiences. In other words, if we've had difficulty with a particular event that occurred, we can then see that event without the emotional turmoil that we once experienced. And joining us is Access Bars practitioner, Maria Alicia Valdes, who joins us from Miami. And I have the pleasure of serving on the International Association of Alternative and Ancient Medicines, of which Maria Alicia is a member. And this is a testament to her commitment to delivering high quality, holistic practices to her clients from a place of integrity and heart space. So here we have Maria Alicia joining us now. Welcome, Maria Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is an honor. Wonderful. Oh, it's wonderful to have you. And, you have a pretty amazing story, right? And I think that it says a lot as to why what in life has taken you to deliver this wonderful technique to others and to really kind of transform your life. So tell our viewers a little bit about how you began discovering the power behind holistic medicines and remedies and knowledge.
Well, I think in my case, it goes back to it starts in my childhood. My family was always very natural in its approach to our bodies and health. I remember from childhood just getting some, let's say, concoction prepared by my grandma, made out of plantain plant, for example, to cure our cough and help us heal faster, or the water lemon, the warm water lemon with a teaspoon of honey and maybe a tiny bit of rum to help us get at, process the flu more easily and stuff like that. Also,
now that you mention it, one of the remedies that I recommend for my clients is plantain leaf tincture, because it really does help to calm coughs. So your grandmother really knew what she was talking about. And then I was in Ireland last year and I had a really bad cough. And, but of course I was going out, I was at the beach, I was just like, go, go, go. And so I went to this bar and they prepared, they're like, oh, you need a hot toddy. I had never heard about what a hot toddy was, but I think it was whiskey with lemon, cinnamon, and hot water. So similar to what, the remedies that you were receiving as a child and it worked. I could breathe again and my cough stopped. So yeah, sounds like they knew what they were up to.
Yeah, it was funny because when we were little, just having a tiny bit of rum was sort of interesting. Growing back in Venezuela, we have very good rum, so it was part of our our culture. Anyway, I remember, I mean, my grandpa was from Peru, and I remember him like having a teaspoon of honey every single day, or even drinking his water lemon in the mornings, like you also recommend, and stuff like that. And also, I think in my house, my mom wouldn't allow us to have too many sweets and drink any sodas, and even though as a child we were a bit mad at her because she wouldn't let us, like the other kids' moms did, drink that stuff or eat a lot of candy. But that was the way it was. She was very, very organic in her way of living and teaching us. Of course, we didn't understand then that we were eating healthy and organic.
It's incredible because I mean we know now sugar is so really toxic, and in fact, if we go back in history, some of the plagues that started really affected. You know, when sugars and sweets started to be introduced in Europe, they had plagues, and the people that were affected by them were the rich because they could afford the cakes and the cookies and the desserts and all the sweets, and the poor weren't affected by it because they weren't changing that environment in their body to this very acidic state. Something sweet they didn't understand could create that acidic environment in the body.
Correct. And something as acidic like lemons could be alkaline in your body.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So more or less, I think our approach to those things in our life in my family were like that. And I mean, we also used homeopathy for certain things. Arnica, for example, any bruising or inflammation. What other? The arnica is the one that I remember the most. I think it was phosphorus for parasites as well, or
Sulfur. I think
sulfur. Was sulfur? Sulfur for parasites. And one of my mom's cousin was an homeopathy doctor, so she would take us there every time we had anything. So we learned how to drink our little strange water that uh, didn't have any taste, or pellets that we had to dissolve in our under our tongues, and they were sort of sweet and fun to just kind of play with them under our tongues, and trying not to let them out and try to dissolve them completely. So yeah, I mean, it was in what we did as a family. So I don't know. Well, years went by, and I think I was always very curious about me having this information in my family and applying it to myself, or my mom using it with us, and then maybe watching other people solve their health issues with a more pharmaceutical approach. It's not that I was completely aware of what was pharmaceutical and what wasn't, but in the end, you could tell that there was a difference. So, on the other hand, I've always been very curious. I would love to read books that nobody read, get information of things that were controversial, and I think part of that information was mostly things about healing or spiritual subjects. So it's been in me all my life to research and go deep into these subjects.
You know, it's interesting because I wouldn't say that same experience because my mother was a nurse. And so she was you constantly giving us antibiotics, taking us to the doctor, antibiotics. But when we lived in Mexico for a few years, we were definitely influenced more, and she was definitely influenced by family that would say, oh, take him to the homeopath, or, oh, try this tea, or, do this. And so definitely the homeopathy helped. And years later, I remember my son teething, and my best friend, who is from Brazil, she recommended these little pellets, and it was homeopathy. Humphreys pellets, I think they were, and it was incredible how quickly the pellets helped my son relax, soothe, be able to breastfeed and fall asleep. And so I use them with all three kids. So there's definitely power in homeopathy. Now, but you've become a holistic practitioner, and I'm sure that all of these experiences since a very early age have led you to this. But was there something pivotal that you said, oh my God, I think I really want to do this?
Yes. I think, even though I just mentioned that I've always been very curious about this whole other world that was seen or unspoken of, maybe. I moved around a lot. I got married very young. I have 3 kids, and I moved around a lot. I think that even though I had a happy life and comfortable life, I started having aches and pains in my body that I just simply couldn't resolve. Even though I went to the doctor, I tried things here and there, but in the end, I couldn't resolve them. And they kept getting worse and worse and worse throughout the years. I'm going to mention a specific moment. I was actually also, that's related to my son too. I was living in Mexico at that time, and my son developed a strange rash in his body, and that it wouldn't go away. I took him to the doctor. It was some sort of virus that it would reproduce. It was molluscus or something like that. A certain virus that would reproduce in his body. And I was treating this poor baby for like a year with this cream, even though I went to an homeopath, and yeah, in a way it helped, but the thing wouldn't go away. And those coincidences, I learned about this guy who would use magnets to treat diseases, and this, and I call him out of desperation, and I took my son, and without just taking his clothing or just checking what he actually had, he just treated him with these magnets. And 2 days later, I'm taking my son out of his tub, and I'm about to put the cream on him, and the whole rash, or the whole things that the whole virus that he had completely disappeared. And I mean, I couldn't believe it. I knew things like this could happen, but I had just found the perfect technique, let's say that, at that moment. My son was free of that thing that I was treating for a year. So by then, I was fan number 1 of biomagnetism, and I started using biomagnetism. One day, for myself, of course, as well.
So let's pause real quick and just kind of explain to our viewers what is biomagnetism.
Well,
I mean, I practice it too, but,
yes.
but let them hear from you. What is biomagnetism?
Well, it's a technique where we treat our bodies with both polarities, of a magnet, positive and negative, so we can restore the pH, the normal pH in our bodies. And
Yeah, magnets have been used for thousands of years. In fact, in recorded history, we know that magnets have been used in every continent on this planet for at least 5,000 years. So, there are different tools and techniques that can apply them, and biomagnetism is certainly one of them, and that's wonderful. Yeah. So, but tell us. Okay, so you discover this technique, and then what happened?
So this happens to me, and I started using it to treat myself and my kids. And I talking to a friend at that moment of my life, she says, "Yeah, well, yeah, I also practice that, but you need to learn. You need to read these books that I just discovered, and this new technique that it's called access bars. It's amazing. I just learned how to run them. Read the books, and you're gonna love it." Well, the curious person that I am, and I think it's I'm the forever student. Sorry.
Well, you're an investigator. You're curious.
Yeah, the forever student, and I'm very curious. So I ran to the library, to a library, and no, to the bookstore, and bought these books, and I started reading them, and I was surprised of all this information that I learned, and how these people changed the way I was looking at the world. What really caught my attention was that they would explain how we have to learn how to receive completely from the universe. Like, how do they teach you how to see things through neutrality and not polarity, even though you use polarity in biomagnetism, but you go into neutrality in order to heal. And if you use a concept, that's the same thing that you apply in biomagnetism.
Yeah, in kinesiology, we have to get neutral to be able to test correctly, without prejudice.
Exactly. And in the body, that's what happens when you use both polarities, right?
Yep.
So, of course, I didn't know that at that time, but now I can understand. But and at that moment, this is what I learned. I started learning the process that they use, because they use verbal processes, also a lot of questions, and how you can approach your daily life, just asking questions and not necessarily coming from a conclusion. So, but this is a lot more extensive in terms of the access consciousness umbrella, let's say it that way. But what I was interested in was learning what access bars was about, that my friend recommended. So I was living in Miami at the time, and I searched online for a practitioner nearby, and I found this super nice lady that was actually applying this technique. So I went there, very curious, and I just lay down. She started touching my head very gently, talking to me a little bit, and sort of explaining that even though she was going to touch certain points in my head, I was going to be able to relax and enjoy the process. So that's what happened. But the funny thing, and that I wanted to explain or relate, was that 2 days before going to this session, I had come back from a trip where I had an issue, and we had to return earlier. And I was a bit mad about what happened to me in that trip. And I'm telling her the story, and she's running. I'm telling her story with a lot of passion. I was very angry, and she kept doing her thing. And at the end of the session, where you don't fall asleep necessarily, but you go into this deep state of relaxation. It's almost like floating. That has been my experience. So when we finished the session, she asked me again, okay, now tell me the story of what happened in your trip again and tell me how you feel. So I start telling her the story again. And a few seconds in the story, I realized that I'm not mad anymore. The story is there. It happened, but I just didn't attach to the story anymore. And that really surprised me. The whole emotionality of what happened and the anger and all of that was completely gone in minutes. And I had never experienced that.
Incredible. Now, I've witnessed you when you're doing access bars on people. And that place of neutrality is definitely how I would describe you. But beyond that, I would say like this perfect state of Zen, where you're like, kind of like visualizing this monk, doing a meditation, being in deep in meditation and being very present. So I've witnessed you being very present with your clients and then seeing how they kind of float off the table when they're done, because they really do. They go into this beautiful Zen space and get off kind of floating. And, in talking to them afterwards, they describe it as just like, oh my God, that was such an amazing experience. Right. So I can see why you must really enjoy this practice, because it must be mutually rewarding to be in that very present Zen space and then to be able to help people get in that space, right?
It has been very rewarding, even though I learned this a long time ago, but I was never very, at that time, I wasn't very eager to practice, to do it by myself. I always thought that somebody else could do it better than me or whatever. And it was just recently, or let's say a few years ago, that I decided, and well, things in my life just took me there. Then I had nothing to lose, and it's been a great experience. And just to be very clear, Access Consciousness has a lot of tools. This is the one that I learned, the one that I resonate with. But I think that this is the one that I like, the only one that I want to keep doing for now, because I think that the results are just amazing. And it's, again, like any technique, is not necessarily like that you're gonna see miracles in one session, but you're gonna experience a miracle in your body.
But I would say, I mean, from you going from a place of anger, potential rage,
That's a
to
miracle.
feeling peaceful, that's a bit of a miracle. You know what I mean? People don't go from one place to the other and no longer feel that anger that potentially they could have held the grudge forever, right? And so, and in closing, I wanted to say that when we discover a tool that resonates with us, and that's what you're describing, to what I'm hearing you say, is that then you can deliver it from that heart soul space. Yes. And then that has power, so much power. It's not so much about the amount of years and experience that people have. Yes, that adds knowledge. But what makes, I think, in the holistic world, the delivery of a technique to really jumpstart and be transformative is delivering it from that place of heart space and that neutrality where there's no prejudice, where you're doing it and you're allowing the universe to deliver what it is that they need to receive at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that's what we do when we help people in their healing journey. We're allowing the universe to intercede. So thank you for sharing this wonderful work with our viewers, Maria Alicia, and I hope you come back.
The opportunity, of course I will.
Now, how can people reach you?
Well, through my email, Instagram. I'm pretty easy to reach. It's fine. It's easy.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll be sharing those for our viewers, and thank you for coming.
Thank
Have a
you. Thank you
wonderful
for
week.
having me. Thank you for this opportunity. Thanks to all.